Hey guys, how you doing? It's the Intuitive Investor from StockTwits. So today I want to talk about Shopify. As you guys know, we are literally 24 hours away from their release of their fourth quarter earnings, and I am extremely excited. The last time that I had done a video on Shopify, I believe, was just also one day away from their earnings release back in October. And we were all biting our nails. We were going to be able to see some very limited data from the cannabis sales, but we didn't get much information from it. We all know, those in Shopify world know that Shopify is the leader of cannabis online platforms. They are hosting a cornucopia of other individual owners and larger companies, including some of the provinces out there in Canada. So they are the go-to source for cannabis and cannabis-related products. So I wanted to just do a quick video on what's happened, where was it at, and where will we be tomorrow in 24 hours in terms of price target. So right around October, we were right at 122, and that's just right prior to their release. What they reported was an increase in revenue of 58%. Jesus, I mean, we can't argue with that. I mean, that's awesome. Subscription revenue had also increased by 46%, and merchant solution revenues had also increased by 68%, all trending upward. So for me, that's always good news. Looking ahead, this is something that Shopify had estimated and projected for their fourth quarter. They were expecting revenue, or they are expecting revenue between 315 and 325 million for the quarter. They're expecting full revenue to be at about 1.05 billion. So those two numbers are key when they release their data tomorrow, because people like you and me and analysts and all the really geniuses of the world, I'm just an amateur, are going to be looking at those numbers and other numbers as well to make a determination on whether or not there's any concerns that, Shopify isn't disclosing. As you know, or you may not know, Toby has been notorious for sandbagging and being extremely conservative about his projections and his numbers, which I think is smart. It's always better to just be conservative than to be overly ambitious and greedy with your projections and then have to explain to folks why you didn't meet. But I think as they begin to tease out and work out the kinks of that system, then I think they'll get a little bit closer and closer to whatever projections they're coming up with. But I do expect them again to blow it out of the water this quarter. So let's take a look at some of the memorable developments over the quarter. Of course, there's plenty more that I'm probably not going to mention, and that's okay. I didn't want this to become a 80-minute video. So Black Friday sales, not including Cyber Monday, were reported. For those of you guys who followed that, I mean, it was just one of the most awesome things to just see. They were up 28% from the previous year, but I think those numbers are going to be a lot higher, especially once you include Saturday and Sunday, and then eventually Monday sales. What was released in relationship to Shopify were numbers that Adobe and other companies like Amazon and other e-commerce websites had mentioned, so they just lumped us all together. So Shopify also acquires Ticktail in December. What's really an emerging brand. It's a platform that helps people that are looking for emerging brands and did so for their relationships. So I think that's why Shopify had mentioned why they had acquired that in December. Also in December, Shopify had launched an offering of 2.6 million shares at a price target of 154. Those were completed, and I think they generated about $400 million from those proceeds. I think a lot of people were wondering why, if we're sitting on 1.6 billion in cash. I think maybe that had something to do with maybe having the money that we needed to to pay for the acquisition in Ticktail, even though that number was never really disclosed. It just happened to happen right next to each other. In December, Wells Fargo also initiates on Shopify with a price target of 175. I think back in December we were right around, I'd have to look, but I think we were right around 140. Looking at December, let's see, yeah, 140 range, 150 range is where we were at. So we've grown. We've come from 122 in October. We're now sitting at 176.84 as I'm looking at right now. We've also reached all-time highs, which is exactly what we wanted to do. We wanted to pass through that threshold. It'd been a triple top, and so finally it looks like we're going to leak past it. What else? So in January, Colleen Johnston, which was a former CFO of a Toronto-based bank, also joined Shopify. And most recently, in February, Shopify decided to launch a TV and production venture, and I think they're doing so, from what I gathered, to produce films for streaming and other platforms. So Netflix, maybe, I don't know. So all we know is that from the quarter to this, we're up 30%, which is exactly what we want. I think for me, I am extremely excited about what the actual numbers for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So given Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday sales, I'd be surprised if we didn't blow those numbers out of the water from the previous year. In looking at the previous tickers and this year's tickers, when I was looking at it live, I mean, we were averaging really solid sales on the per minute basis. So I think we will blast it out of the water. I think we were trying to come up with some rough estimates, and some had gotten right around 35 to 40% up, maybe as high as 50%. I don't know. Don't quote me on those numbers, but I expect us to blow that number out of the water. In the last quarter, they said that they were going to kind of keep hush-hush on any of the cannabis sales or any of the cannabis numbers or any number of people who have decided to host websites with Shopify. I doubt that they'll release any data again. But if they did, I think anything that they can give to us would be awesome. I know that when it was legalized back in October 17th, cannabis was running low. People were running out of cannabis. So I think that bodes well. I think that gives us an idea of how Shopify is expected to perform in that realm. And to me, I'm so excited because that's like a whole new market that Shopify is now selling to. It's kind of like if you go to a store and the store only sells, I don't know, dairy products, for example. And all you can buy is dairy products. So yogurts, milk, cheese, different types of cheese, just all dairy products. And then they say, hey, now we're going to start selling meat products. I mean, that's like a whole new market. It's new buyers. I mean, sky's the limit with Shopify. I think Shopify continues to be an underrated stock. No one really talks about it. It's been flying under the radar. I think 2018 was a little cruel to all stocks, Shopify in particular. But here we are. I mean, championing back from the lows of 120 and 117 and 116. And everybody was just like, you know, you have this group of people that are anti-Shopify. I don't know. They just come out of nowhere. I think they're just systemically built to hate stocks and to wish that stocks drop and don't do well. I mean, yeah, I just don't live like that. But anyhow, so what do I think is going to happen? Well, when I look at the history of Shopify in releasing data, then it does something. It usually typically rides up, and then what we'll see is there'll be a sell-off regardless of how well it does. And most of the time, I think it's met one projection and the other one it's blown out of the water. So I think what will happen is most people will take some profits tomorrow, leading into the week, and it'll probably coast back down in the 150s range, 160s range. Yeah, that's my morning sun to get me hyped up for the day. I think what we'll do is we'll see a lot of that in the next week or two, but I do see this going into the 200 range, probably right around the end of March to April, once everybody's taken their profits. So if you do intend on adding, just wait until the end of February to see where it goes. However, this is not a prediction. This is just me looking at the data and intuitively seeing what I've seen with Shopify. If it does sell off, it has nothing to do with it being a bad stock, provided that it exceeds or meets their expectations. Of course, everybody gets nervous about that, but I think some stocks, that's just the pattern. And I think for Shopify, this might be the pattern yet again. So if you do intend on adding, just wait for the dust to settle. 65% ownership is on institutions. So obviously, retail investors like you and me, we're insignificant in that respect. So if there's going to be any big swings, they're going to be made by institutions. But it all really depends also on guidance. What's Shopify doing? I'd be curious to know more about what this TV production film thing venture that they got going. I mean, that could be just yet another market that they're getting into. Sounds kind of Amazon-ish. You know, Amazon has their tentacles in everything. Yeah, I mean, Jesus. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. It went a little bit longer than I wanted to. But all in all, have a great day. Stay faithful with Shopify has always been my go-to. And subscribe to my videos if you aren't already subscribing. So any questions, comments, please let me know. Have a good day.